What's up, gamers? Welcome back. We're back talking some more E3 here. I'm Ben. That's Frankie here on behalf of Short Pause. And tonight we're talking Bethesda's E3 press conference. So, Franklin, there was quite a bit of stuff that they threw our way at this one, but Bethesda's wrapped up and in the books, and we got a decent amount of stuff to discuss here.
Yeah, we do. Obviously there were some things we theorized on earlier. Obviously Shinji Mikami made an appearance on stage, which was really cool to see. Their new game looks very interesting, so I'm looking forward to discussing that one a little bit. But obviously, we had a couple of announcements coming out of this that we already knew about. You have that pair of Wolfenstein games that are scheduled to come out next month that we've known about. So it's cool to get some extended gameplay for not a cyber pilot. Cyber pilot's a VR game. That one looks
Yeah,
interesting, but young
Young Blood,
bloods.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool to see that game in action. Co-op Wolfenstein standalone expansion. I'm just gonna be curious to see with that one where it's gonna fall into the overall Wolfenstein story arc, just because the twins weren't even born yet in the last Wolfenstein game, so now all of a sudden they're grown up and it's like, what the hell. So that's a lot of things to cover. I completely forgot about Arcane, so seeing them have a presence there was really cool. Not of course, we got Todd Howard we talked earlier about, obviously Fallout 76. We need to see what they're doing with that game. They kind of gave us a nice overview of what their plans are for that game for its future. So that was nice. Of course, as with every Bethesda conference, it seems you have that one annoying fan. So it seems like they finally silenced him after the ESO stuff. But
They were just like they I don't know if they just plant these people in the crowd, but the Bethesda crowd members are just overly excited about nonsense.
yeah, literally everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, man. So there's a lot to talk about. This is going to be a fun discussion, I think. So you
Yeah.
still working on your things?
No, we're ready to rock and roll now.
Let's do
So,
it.
so the conference pretty much started off with Todd Howard coming onto the stage, and we'll start at the top here and just kind of run it down. But Todd Howard came on stage, a little bit of self-deprecating humor from himself regarding the poor as hell launch of Fallout 76 and the fallout that's ensued because of that. No pun intended. But then they spent a little bit of time just kind of musing about that, and then they kind of got into the I guess the Bethesda game studio portion of the show. So they started things off with the Elder Scrolls Blade. So they came out. I guess there's some updates they're doing to the game, which you can download tonight. Of course, it's a free game to download on mobile devices. The other cool thing they mentioned though is that it's coming to Switch, so it'll be coming this fall. It will remain a free to play game. It's also a cross play, cross save game, so you will be able to take your progress from mobile over to the Switch if you so choose. So that's pretty cool. I haven't personally fired up Blades at all, so I don't know too much about it, but it seems like it's a pretty cool take on Elder Scrolls, and to have that on the Switch as well and retaining its free to play status is pretty neat. Would
Mhm.
you would have you played Blades at all?
No, I'm
No.
not a big phone game advocate. So the fact
Yeah.
that it's coming to Switch free to play as well. So I'm like, you know what? That's probably I'm not opposed to checking it out there.
Yeah, I think that's a nice little announcement for them. Up next, we moved into the Fallout 76 portion of the show. So this is once again Bethesda trying to right the ship on this game. Um, but I saw somebody tweeting about how they'd never seen a crowd get so excited about NPCs being added into it.
Yep.
but but with Fallout 76, the big draw was this Wastelanders expansion, which is bringing NPCs back to the Fallout universe. There's a new main quest for you to follow. There's choices and consequences, new weapons and gear. Basically, what people expect from a Fallout game. Oh,
hmm
crazy
Yeah.
concept, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Dialogue trees too.
yeah, dialogue trees. Like, this is what happens when you take the stuff that people like about a Fallout game and then put it into Fallout. And strangely enough, they turned right around and then were like, "Hey, we're also making this, which is a battle royale mode for Fallout 76, which also not what Fallout is. Fallout is not a battle royale game. Now, look, I know there's a ton of people that love Fallout out there, but and I haven't played an enormous amount of the franchise, but I spent 10 hours or so with Fallout 4, and I this is not like an action game. This is not a game that lends itself I don't think to a battle royale style of game. Um, Maybe they've figured out something different, but the act of actually playing and engaging in combat in Fallout is not like great. So I'm very curious to see what the battle royale looks like. But obviously, there are people that are diehard Fallout fans that love Fallout 76 regardless of its flaws, and Bethesda clearly trying to make right with the game, and they're continuing to work at it and try and make a game that the fans can kind of just play for a long time to come. But what was your take on what we saw from Fallout?
So having just, finished Fallout 4, like I'd mentioned before, that game's frame rate tanks when you have like, I don't know, 10 enemies on the screen.
Yep.
So having a game map with 52 people on it, shrinking, just sounds like a technical nightmare for a Fallout game. But the weird part to me was before they got into announcing that, they were talking about how they have like the most generous community out there.
Mhm.
They're like, oh yeah, you got people who are leaving food and water for new players, and now all of a sudden it's like, hey, battle royale. Don't get me wrong, the concept of it, to become the overseer of Vault 51 or whatever, like that's the concept behind it is pretty cool, and that's like a typical kind of Fallout thing. But like you said, I just don't feel like a battle royale mode would work for Fallout. It's just not. I don't know. I mean, I kind of see it a little bit just because it is a post-apocalyptic world, and people are vying for control over something. So I guess somehow it makes sense, but just in terms of just a Fallout game, I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the battle royale concept absolutely fits into the world of Fallout, especially in this regard in Fallout 76, which is inherently a survival game. I just from my experience with Fallout, at least, I just don't see how this game translates to the battle royale genre in terms of its gameplay. Just don't see that being a good fit for it. It's
Yeah.
just it's strange. They're coming off of Fallout 76, a game that they tried to do something quite a bit different from what the typical Fallout fan wants out of these games. So they tried to do something like with that. It didn't work. They're having to go back and make that game like the Fallout games that other people like. And now they're adding in a battle royale mode, which seems once again to be the antithesis of what Fallout is all about. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what it turns out to be. It's called Nuclear Winter. Could end up being cool. We'll have to see how it ends up playing out though. The other thing is there's a free trial of Fallout 76 coming this week. I think it
Mhm.
starts
It's
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yep.
Yeah. So you'll be able to check that out if you're on the fence about the game at all or want to see what it is all about. And of course, Todd Howard just threw out Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, just like, hey, we're still working on
Yep.
those. Well, I would certainly hope so. So so that was the opening salvo from Bethesda Game Studios. Not too much there. Then Shinji Mikami came out onto the stage. So we talked about this in our pre-show prior to the day. One of the things we were anticipating was him making an appearance here on the Bethesda stage, and he wheeled out this new game, Tango. I'm sorry, from Tango, Ghostwire Tokyo. And I don't know if there was any gameplay in that trailer that they showed us, but this trailer was really really cool. It's there's like this it's some type of an action adventure game where people are disappearing. You play some kind of I don't know, what would you call this guy, a samurai
That's what
or
he looks like. Yeah.
assassin of some sorts. But you're
Yeah.
carrying around a bow. People are disappearing. It's very mystical and mysterious looking, and it looks really really cool. The main character, the what I am assuming is the main character, reminds me a lot of Ronan, the Marvel character from the Avengers. So yeah, he looks pretty neat, but this trailer was cool, and I'm super intrigued about this game, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing them kind of go from, like a creepy horror game to a paranormal horror game, I guess. I feel like that's a cool evolution. And like you said, just the trailer you're panning around and you just see people disappearing,
Mhm.
clothes dropping to the ground,
Mhm.
and then I'm not really even sure what to make of this character we're playing as.
Yeah.
Very decked out in, like you said, a samurai outfit
Yeah.
with a bow and arrow. It's like, how is that going to help you with ghosts?
Yeah.
It's not my first weapon of choice, but
Yeah. Maybe it's a paranormal bow. It's like
could
a
be.
Ghostbuster bow.
That'd be pretty cool.
But yeah, obviously Shinji Mikami is an incredibly imaginative man, and his creative mind works in mysterious ways. So I have no doubt that there's going to be lots of creative off the wall stuff in this game, and I'm very intrigued by the concept. I like the style of the game that we saw in the trailer. Just say we didn't see any actual gameplay, so we don't know how this is going to play necessarily. We also don't know anything about when this game is coming out. There wasn't any concrete details about that, so don't know
Mhm.
how close or how far away this game is. But very intrigued at the very least to
Mhm.
with what we saw from Ghostwire Tokyo. From there, we moved into Elder Scrolls Online, which they they talked about some of the new expansions that were the new one that just came out, and then they showed us a trailer, which an epic trailer, but it's just a big CG trailer for the game. So if you've been following that story, you got a little piece of that trailer there. They talked about some of the new expansions that they're working on for the future. I mean, it's Elder Scrolls Online. You're either playing it or you're not. You're used to the cadence of the updates that they're bringing to the game, so you know kind of what they're doing and what they're all about. But they did say that the expansion that came out recently is a good chance to hop into the game if you're a new player. So if you're at all curious about Elder Scrolls Online, now would be the time to hop in there. They also unveiled their free to play mobile game, um, which I think it's free to play, but the Commander Keen game.
Yep.
Am I why am I not familiar with Commander Keen, or why am I not
I'm not
remembering Commander
either.
Keen? Is this
I
a Saturday morning cartoon that was after my time?
probably after mine too. I've never heard of it.
Yeah. So Commander Keen is apparently a big deal, but they announced the game for mobile. It's got a cool art style, but I don't know much more about it. What even is this? What kind of game is this? Is it a
I had
action
no
game?
idea.
Yeah, I didn't pay too much attention.
I don't know.
Um,
The second they said mobile game, I kind of
yeah. So they made this really cool thing like, hey, ZeniMax Online's also making something else, but it's a mobile game. Like, damn it. Okay.
yeah.
So that was kind of a buzzkill. Then they came out and talked about Elder Scrolls Legends. Showed us a new pack that's coming out and made zero mention of the console version of the game that they
Yeah.
mentioned at what they
Yeah.
talked about it last year, right?
Yep.
And
It's
then
supposed to be on consoles last fall. Never
just
happened.
radio silence.
Yep.
Very strange. They would come out talk about the game again, and then just completely ignore the fact that they
Yeah.
told us it was coming to consoles.
Yep. It's a bummer, but there's a new expansion coming out, so I guess I'll just get back to it on my phone. Why not?
New expansion. There you go. Which was a lot of the stuff at Bethesda's conference. A lot of the stuff, honestly, probably didn't need to be here. It was just DLC and expansions, like things they could have put out in press releases or trailers or blog posts or something like that. And they just kind of padded out this conference with these things.
Mhm.
They did the same thing with Rage 2. There's a new expansion coming out for that, Rise of the Ghosts. You make heads or tails? Have you played through Rage 2 yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just finished Fallout 4, and I didn't want to jump into another first-person post-apocalyptic game just yet. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you.
that will be next, though.
Yeah. So there was a few things with Raid 2. Like, once again, nothing groundbreaking here, just they're working on the DLC for the game. Um and then they talked once again about more games they had already talked about before when they came out and talked about Wolfenstein, but we got the little bit of footage from the Cyberpilot VR game. We saw some footage from the Youngbloods game, which we were talking about a little bit before the show here, Frankie. But we're not entirely sure how this fits into the storyline or even what kind of game this is. We assume it's an Old Blood type of standalone expansion for the game, but I don't think they haven't come out and given us any hard details about what this is, right?
No,
So
just the Blazkowicz twins slaying Nazis.
yeah. So to their credit, the trailer looks awesome. I mean, this looks like a sweet co-op game.
Mhm.
Just running around, just slaying. So I mean, it looks like it could be a lot of fun. And we're expecting maybe a mini campaign or something in probably the 3 or 4 hour range.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of how this is going to play out, but we're not entirely sure how that's all going to play out. But what they did show was cool. Now their Machine Games has help from Arcane working on the Youngblood game. They actually brought Arcane Leon onto the stage, which is the French branch of Arcane Studio, and they showed us a trailer for what was arguably the coolest thing that we saw at this whole show. A trailer for a new game. It's their new like AAA first person action adventure game called Deathloop, and it reminds me a little bit of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that movie with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie,
Mhm.
but taken up to the next level in terms of like style and panache. And we've got these two characters who are seemingly competing with one another. We don't know a whole ton about the story so far, but they've got some cool abilities. They look like absolute badasses with their weaponry. And there's some type of central conflict that has these two at each other's throats. And for one to survive, the other one needs to be eliminated, and so on and so forth. So it looks like it's going to have a very intriguing story. There might even be like a time mechanic in this as well. The
Mhm.
fact that it's called Deathloop. They kind of hinted at you know like one of the characters would kill the other characters and then they would wake up. So there was some of that going on. I don't know if that's just the style of the trailer, if that's a central game mechanic, but some very interesting stuff going on. This game looked absolutely kick ass in my opinion, Frankie.
Mhm.
We didn't see any gameplay once again, which is the theme of today. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of gameplay going around E3 this time of year, but what we saw with the trailer, dude, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much reminded me of the Dishonored 2 announced trailer. That same type of style. Just
Hmm.
watching the different abilities they're using.
Yep.
The one character, the lady's kind of like phasing around, and
Hmm.
this dude just got some sweet ass guns. So,
Oh yeah.
um, I'm still not too sure like if this is a single player game because this almost sounds like a 1v1 kind of game of cat and mouse to me. But I don't. As far as I know, I don't think Arcane's ever made a game like that outside of messing around with it with Prey.
Hmm.
Or, yeah, Prey. So
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about that. I'm hoping it's a single player game because it is a very interesting idea, like you were saying.
Hmm.
So this is one that I'm gonna keep on my radar. Dishonored, a lot of fun. They talked about that Dishonored, the open world approach where you can kind of tackle these maps however you want.
Hmm.
So I'm very intrigued. I love them. They make really cool games. So I'm looking forward to seeing this game in action when they finally get around to showing it.
Yeah, and once again, with as with the other new games they announced during this presentation, no concrete details or any kind of idea of when we might see this game. But
Mhm.
yeah, and just when they were talking about things like that, Frankie, where they're like, you have an open stage concept that they use to great effect in the Dishonored series, and being able to tackle objectives any way you want. That sounds like a very single player mechanic to me.
Mhm.
And when they were debuting the game and talking about it, they were talking about it as this is their next like AAA first person adventure like franchise. So I got the distinct impression that this was a brand new single player like action adventure game. I didn't get the impression at all that this was going to be a multiplayer experience. Maybe there's a mechanic in it where you can do co-op or multiplayer, and that certainly could be part of this. But from the way they were talking about it, I'd be very surprised if this was a multiplayer centric affair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Deathloop looked really cool. So if you haven't watched the trailer for it, definitely check that out. It was one of the highlights of the press conference for sure. Probably the weirdest segment happened after that, where they came on talking about Orion, which is this new streaming technology that makes streaming other things better. I have no idea what they were talking about or what this thing actually does or how it improves anything, or I don't even know how this works. It was really weird that they came out and talked about this for 5 or 10 minutes on the show. Um, I, I don't know. Do you have do you have anything to say about this? Like
No.
what is this? It makes streaming better,
From
but it's a streaming platform of its own or
yeah,
something.
from what I understand, a lot of the streaming services now are hardware based. This sounds like something that's being built engine for like from the game engine from I assume EdTech, whatever number they're on.
Yeah,
So that's what I took away from this is that somehow this is more of a software solution to streaming versus a hardware solution. But I'm not a big tech guy, so I don't know what that means exactly.
yeah. Yeah, it was tough for me to follow. I obviously don't know a lot about this stuff either from a technical perspective. So it was tough for me to follow exactly what this thing does or wrap my head around. Like you can go to a website. I forget what it's called, Doom Slayer, something like Slayer or something,
Hmm.
and you can sign up to be a part of the I guess the beta test for this new, they call it Orion, the streaming service, and you can kind of test it out. And they showed, like a lady on stage playing Doom on a phone, via an Xbox controller that was just hooked into her phone. So I mean, it looks cool, but I'm still, I don't understand what this is. I don't know if it's software. Do we download this? What is it? I don't know. I just don't get
Yeah.
what it does.
It
Um,
sounds it's not from what I gathered from it, it has to be developed into the game. Like
okay,
this has to be baked in. So if I don't know if it's something they can go back and it obviously they can go back and support for it if Doom's gonna support it, but
right.
again, I don't understand fully how this works or
Mhm.
like if someone could just download the development kit for this and implement it in their game engine and suddenly their game works better streaming. I don't know.
So essentially, maybe they can just patch it into their games.
Yeah.
Um, that's interesting. I mean, I guess that makes sense based on what they were talking about. That this is some kind of, like you said, software solution developed right into the game.
Hmm.
So yeah, it could be cool. I mean, this is one of those things that I don't think that we'll necessarily realize that is going on. It's just something that's going to be a part of games. We'll just be like, oh, hey, that works. So we might not notice exactly what this thing's doing at the consumer level, but it's one of those things that's going on behind the scenes. Just a strange thing to talk about on an E3 press conference stage.
Yeah.
And it was just another one of these things where it's just like, I don't know if they're just trying to pad their time or what with this, but it was
Yeah.
an odd inclusion here. And then
And
finally, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's probably fitting for him to mention it now because everyone's talking about streaming. Xbox touched on it
Yep,
earlier. Obviously, we had the Stadia stuff earlier this week, so I
yep.
assume they saw this as an opportunity to be like, "Hey, we're doing something with this too."
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Um, so moving on from there, then we got finally got to the star of the show, which was Doom Eternal, which everybody had been waiting for. This is obviously the big finale of the show. So they came out, they showed us they showed us an interesting trailer for the game, gave us kind of this stuff about the storyline in the game, heaven, hell, all the different locations that we're going to be going to. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty epic experience when it's all said and done. And then from there, they fired up just a pretty sweet, probably a 10-minute like gameplay segment of the game, just watching the Doom Marine just go through and just wreak havoc on these demons before eventually coming up against one of those like demon minotaurs and pulling out the BFG, firing that thing up to unleash it, and then fade to black. And that was the gameplay demo. So it looks fast, it looks fluid, it looks like Doom, the Doom that we've come to expect via 2016 Doom. So this looks like more of the same, just demon slaying action taken up maybe even to another level with some of the abilities that you look to have in this game. But looked pretty badass, man.
Yeah. The only thing I'm kind of concerned about is it looked like during one of the trailers, like there's a lot of mid-air platforming.
Yeah,
You're kind of like
dashing and
dashing and wall climbing.
yeah.
Uh, this is hard to pull off well in first person. So,
hmm
and not many developers do it very well, even
yeah,
though, we've gotten better over the years. But Doom 2016 wasn't a game that I felt that the jumping and just platforming in general was all that great in. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of it in this, especially with the added momentum you have with your grapple hook and
yeah.
these look like it looks like they're like swinging points you can jump to.
hmm
So I'm a little worried about that kind of stuff, but other than that, this looks like pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah, now that's a good point. Even the section they showed where you were kind of dashing and jump, that even looked a little awkward when they
Hmm.
were going through that. Once you dashed through the air a couple times, jumped onto the wall, and then you jumped off onto the platform. Then you started like the
Yeah.
action stuff. Even that looked a little bit awkward watching that play out. So
Hmm.
hopefully that stuff's kind of few and far between, and maybe there's just more of those like grapple points instead of the actual like platforming and air dashing. But we'll
Yeah.
we'll see how it all plays out once said and done. It was a pretty impressive demo when the smoke cleared. I really liked what I saw from it. November 22nd is the release date now, so we have another big time title added to the November lineup. I think we've got 5 or 6 big titles now scheduled for November, so it's going to be a very very busy fall as it usually is. No surprises here. There was a collector's edition announced for the game as well with a wearable helmet. And man, they were finishing out the show and they're like, I don't remember exactly what they said. They were like, but and now to unveil the moment you've been waiting for, the eagerly anticipated multiplayer mode, battle, what's it called? Battle mode.
Battle mode.
And then there's just like crickets. The one guy was, yeah. I think we're clapping for multiplayer. Yeah. It was kind of a brutal moment. Obviously everybody remembers the much maligned multiplayer component from the last Doom, so people were not too excited to see what multiplayer had to offer with Doom Eternal. But sounds like they have a cool concept here. So it's going to be a 3-person multiplayer match where 2 people play as the demon, 1 person plays as the marine. The Doom Marine is decked out with all of the accoutrements and all of the weapons and things that you would need to fight off the hordes of hell. And then the other 2 players are teaming up as demons, and they've got to kind of strategically figure out how to take down the marine with their abilities. So it sounds like a cool concept. It's one of those things where I don't know if it's going to come off as a gimmick. Like I'm curious if it's going to have legs. Like how many different modes are they going to be able to make with this? Is this going to be something that's going to be sustainable over the long haul? Seems very gimmicky right off the bat.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how it plays out. And with it only being 2-on-1, if there's not a lot of players in these matches, just seems like that could possibly get old quick. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how it plays out in action.
Yeah, I know one of the big talking points for it was they're developing that one in house. I think Certain Affinity handled the multiplayer for 2016 Doom, so this one's honestly, I mean, it looks like it's fun, but like you said, it seems a little gimmicky. I
Yeah.
can see myself hopping in there, like if I have to play a couple rounds to get a trophy or something,
Yeah.
that'll be it. Like the
Mhm.
first time around, but this doesn't seem like something I'm going to be interested in the long haul.
Yeah, it seems like it seems like a fun game. Or it's one of those things that looks fun and you jump into it and it probably is fun when you play it the first couple times. Just yeah, I'm just curious if the thing has legs. That would
Mhm.
be what I'm most interested in. Um Yo, what's up, Brent? Forgot to say hi to him. um but yeah, that was the end of the press conference there. So Frankie, for my money, this is one of those press conferences that we probably didn't need. I don't know really what the purpose of it was. There's a bunch of DLC, a bunch of games that are already out. Not really the kind of stuff that I mean the kind of stuff that I really wanted to see from an E3 press conference. We got some cool stuff from the Shinji Mikami game. Ghostwire Tokyo looks awesome. Deathloop looks awesome. Doom Eternal looks great. I think they could have trimmed some of the fat with this one and really
Mhm.
just focused on some of the newer games that they had to show us. Hell, even if they just wanted to do a Doom showcase for 30 minutes or something like that would have been, I think, even more ideal than what we ended up getting. But regardless, Bethesda's got some cool stuff coming down the pipe here. Doom looks great. Very interested in some of the stuff that they have to offer. Just not sure they needed a press conference this year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like ever since they started doing them again, when they did it the first time around, obviously, that was the big reveal for Doom 2016. They had a bunch of stuff at that show. That was one of the best press conferences of that year.
Mm,
And I just feel like ever since then, like, yes, it's great that they're showing stuff that's coming out within the next, 8 to 10 months. But like you said, it's stuff that we've already seen before, we already knew about. Obviously, the Wolfenstein games are coming out next month. They were announced last year.
mm,
A lot of DLC, a lot of mobile games,
yep.
which, don't get me wrong, I mean, there's nothing wrong with mobile games. I'm not a fan of them, but um, you know, I don't need an E3 conference where I think they ate up like a good 5 minutes with that Keen game. It's like, oh, okay, but why? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm still pissed that, Elder Scrolls Legends and, still isn't on consoles.
Yeah.
But it just seems like an obligatory thing every year where it's an update for Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Legends.
Yep.
And I'm assuming now Fallout 76 is going to fall into that because that seems like that's going to be a living game for a while. I'm glad that they're kind of figuring out what they're doing with it. They mentioned with going on with year 2, like year 1 was everyone coming out of the vault doing whatever the hell they wanted, and now people are coming to kind of reclaim,
Mhm.
their place in the world. So
Yeah.
Cool concept. I hope that plays out well. But like you said, we don't need a trailer for the Rage 2 DLC. The game just launched not even a month ago yet. So obviously that DLC is going to be coming. And they've already put out a pretty extensive roadmap, for all the free updates that are going to be coming for the next couple months. So like you said, I don't think we needed to waste time on that, even though the trailer was funny.
Mm-hmm.
It could have just been a trailer they released for it. They didn't have to do it on E3 conference, but
Right.
Doom Eternal is the only thing I wanted to see. I got my date. I'm already feeling very ill. I'm probably gonna be almost dead that week.
Yeah,
So
you look like you're coming down with something that's going to hit
I,
its apex come November 22nd. So
I feel it. So I'm
yeah,
gonna have to get ready to not be at work for that week.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like you said, I think the two biggest surprises we saw. One of them we were expecting, but the other, like I said, I completely forgot Arcane. I didn't think they would have anything ready, but Deathloop looks like it's going to be something that's really cool, really unique.
Mm,
And Ghostwire, a supernatural horror game from Shinji Mikami's studio, that's going to be really cool when that comes out. So definitely cool stuff to be excited about. But like you said, definitely a lot of filler, a lot of stuff we maybe doesn't need to be on an E3 stage.
yeah, I mean it was definitely a conference that was aimed at like the Bethesda super fan. So if
Mhm.
if you're a Bethesda super fan and like you love all that stuff, it's all your favorite games and whatnot. But for the average like consumer that's tuning into an E3 conference to see the new stuff that's coming out, what you guys are bringing to the table, there just wasn't a lot there.
No.
Um, so that is going to wrap it up for us. We'll be back tomorrow to talk some more E3 stuff. Not tomorrow. We get the unveiling of Avengers, which is man, I cannot wait to see this game. If this game is anything like Destiny in the Marvel universe, put a fork in me. I'm done. And then we just hot off the presses as we were getting ready to start the stream here. It apparently has leaked that Final Fantasy VII remake is also coming out this year, and I man, super pumped about that, and I anticipate we're going to see that at the Square conference tomorrow. So I'm eagerly anticipating the Square conference tomorrow because it's got two of the highest games on my anticipated list coming down the pipeline. Can't wait to hear about those. We got Ubisoft tomorrow. Who else is tomorrow? What else is going on tomorrow? Is it just those two?
I think it's just those two, and then Nintendo's on
Nintendo's
Tuesday.
on Tuesday. Yeah. So got some cool stuff to talk about, some cool stuff to look into tomorrow. We'll get back on here when appropriate and when available, and we'll talk some more E3 with you guys. But appreciate you guys being here. Shout out to Brent for joining us in the chat there. Thanks, buddy, for stopping by. Other than that, Franklin, I will see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
See ya.